Write a program with a function reverse list, right? Good. So the first, like I told you, always answer the exam questions line by line. Don't jump. The first thing is what? Is to define the function. What is the name of the function? Reverse list. Does it require a parameter? Any parameter?
Yes.
You require how many parameter? 5. So I can write number 1, okay, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then this is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then don't forget the full colon before enter. So anything you write in this indentation is executed in the what? In the function. Create a list of the 5 parameters. So these 5 parameters is 5 things. We want to create a list. So that means I write list is equal to, do you understand? Is equal to number 1, number 2, number 3. That's all. Just create a list of them. It's as simple as that. Just create them as a list. That's all. This is not a list, isn't it? It's as simple as that. I made it very simple. After creating the list, print the list in what? Reverse order. So how do you print? You print the list. Just print. Print what? List of what?
Double, 2, double.
Minus 1. That is all. Just printing what? In reverse order. Simple. You don't even have to think about anything. Like I told you, solve the question line by. That is all. Then B, right? So apart from using this function, like I said, you can also write a for loop. But with the for loop, you want to print each of the item. But the question says print a list. The question did not say print each item from the list. Is that understood? If the question have said print each item from the list, then I will solve that after answering this question when I'm done. But the question just says print the list in what? In reverse order. That is all. I've printed the list in reverse order. So let's go to the next one. The next one now says that what? It says write program code. Is this part of the function? No, it is not part of the function. So you got out of the function. It should not be in the indentation. Prompt and request user to input what? 5 integers. That is, asks for 5 integers from the user. The question does not say separated by comma. It does not say separated by space. All we need is what? 5 integers. So write it the way you are comfortable with. Is that understood? So for me, I will write user 1 is equal to integer input. Please enter the first value. Okay. How many times? 5 times. 2, 3, 4, 5. Simple. Then I did this to be what? To be 2, 3, 4, 5. So first, this will be what? Second. Then third. Fourth. Fifth. With this, we have gotten how many integers? 5 integers. The question further states, so I'm done with this, isn't it? Then call the function. Call the what? Function. So let's call the function. How do you call the function? Reverse list. Does it return anything? So do I need to save to a variable? No. And what? And pass what? The user inputs as what? As arguments. It should not be parameter, it should be arguments. Is that understood? So let me pass them. That will be what? User 1, user 2, user 3, user 3, then what? User 4, and what? User 5. Is this understood? So I've passed this. Good. Now what is the next thing? That is all right. Good. If you run the code now, let's run the code now. The next question says test the code, right? With what? With, what is the first one? 56. 79. 8, 9, and 100. Simple. Is this understood, everyone? So that is just a classwork that makes you be able to illustrate what a function is. Is that understood? Good. Now let's solve this problem together. A program is required to add even numbers in an array. When you see a question, please read the question line by line, answer the question line by line. Don't summarize everything and then answer. Is that understood? So read line by line and answer line by line. Like I told you, if your code runs does not necessarily mean you've gotten the answer and does not necessarily mean you answer the question correctly. Do you understand? And if your code does not run, does not mean you won't get a good mark. So please just answer the question line by line according to the instruction provided. Is that understood? Now, it says a program is required to add even numbers in an array. Write a function, sum even numbers. So we need a function first. That is the first thing. Is that understood? So how do you write a function? We define what? We write def, right? Then the name of the function. That is the first thing. Are we supposed to declare a list first? No, the first line of question says write a function. So go by that. Is that understood? Go by that. So sum even numbers. So that is the name of the function. Is that understood? Now, that accepts an array of 10 integers as a parameter. So does it require a parameter? Yes. Because that line says accept an array of what? 10 integer. So how many values will you write in, or how many variables will you pass as a parameter? How many? It's 1. It says an array, not 10 values. It does not say accept 10 integers as a parameter. If it has said accept 10 integers as a parameter, then we are passing 10 variables. Is that understood? As the parameter. Do you understand that? But it says accept an array. So it is only one thing. So that means an array is a what? Is a list of numbers. Can you remember I taught you guys in previous classes ago? Can you guys still remember? So let me I can call it arrays, I can call it numbers, I can call it anything. Is that understood? So this is the parameter that it accepts. Now, it later says adds up only the even number. Add ups only the even number. That means I must find the even number in that list. The list, do I know the values of the list? No, it's just a variable. So that means we need to find the even number in what? In the list. And you know that in the list, there are 10 integers in the list, isn't it? Isn't it? So that means we must be able to access each value in the list. Is that understood? So we can check each of them if it's what? Even or not. So how do we check each of them if it is even? How do we access each value? For loop. Then I write for num in arrays. In array. I've taken each value. Then I want to check if each of the values what? Is even, right? Then I have to write if num modulus 2 is equal to 0. So with this, I've checked if it is what? Even. What am I asked to do? To sum, right? So that means I need to find the sum. Just create a variable sum, which is equal to sum plus what? plus num, because I need to add the numbers together. So that means sum must be initialized, isn't it? So that means I need to go before the for loop. Is that understood? Initialize sum as what? 0. So I continue to add those values to each other. Is that understood? Then when I'm done, to add everything. When the for loop is done, all the even numbers must have been added. So outside of the for loop, then I can. So what does the question answer? It says that what? Add up only the even numbers, which is what I have done. And what? Does it say print? Some of you are printing. It says return. Then that means I have to what? Return sum. Simple. That is all. That question has been answered. It's as simple as this. Is this understood, everyone? Good. Now, what is the next thing? The big question. Write a program code. Is it in the function or outside of the function? Outside of the function. It says, write a program code to declare an empty array with what? With the variable myList. Is that understood? So that means out of the function, not in the function. Then I write myList is equal to, this is an empty array. Okay? This is an empty array. So it states, okay, prompt and request a list of what? Separated by what? So how many input are you asked to declare? So how many input are you asked to accept? One, a list, only one, not 10 inputs. Only one input. You are not asked to prompt and request 10 integers. If the question says prompt and request 10 integers, how many inputs will you request? 10. But it says prompt and request a list, one input. Is that understood? Now, so that means that we write user input is equal to input, enter a list of 10 integers separated by what? Comma. That was what the question says. It says separated by what? Comma. Understood? Separated by comma. Add the input to my list. Add the input to my list. Is my list an array or a list or a string? What is the input? Is the input a list or a string? The input is a string. Is my list a string? No. That means I need to convert the input to a list before I add it to what? My list. Is that understood? Is that understood? So how do you convert a string to a list? Split. Is that understood? Then I have to write that my list is equal to user input. I have to convert with what? With split. Why do you split? You split by what? Comma. That is, you split everywhere you see a comma. The code what? It splits the value. That's why the question says separated by comma. If the question has said separated by space, how do you split? With a space. Is that understood? Is that understood, everyone? Good. Now the question now states, call the function. Call the what? Now, do we have a list now? Yes. Now you are calling the function. So what is the function? Sum even numbers. This is the function. And what? Pass what? The array, which is that my list, as what? As an argument, isn't it? So that means you pass what? My list as an argument. Is the worry not over? So it is an array that goes to the function, not a value. Is that understood? It's that 10 values that goes to the function, because the array is now passed as what? As an argument. Is that understood? But is it returning anything? Yes, it returns something. It returns the sum. So like I asked, does it return anything? So I can save it to a what? To a variable. So I can say returned value is equal to this. Is that understood? So what does the question now says? It says that what? Print the what? The return total. Is that understood? Most times the question will always say in a suitable message. So to print the return total, then I write print the sum of even numbers in the what? In the list provided, bless you, is returned value. Is it understood? That's all. Now, then you copy your code. Is that understood? Now, there is a problem with this code, but some of you may not know there is a problem yet. So let's run this code to see if there is a problem. Now, go back to the question. It says, test your input with what? 1 to 10, isn't it? Then let's run this code. When you run your code, then I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then 10. Can you see the problem? It returns an error. So you now try to understand the error message. Try and understand the what? Because if you don't understand the error message, you continue to struggle to find where the error is, and you may not even find it. The error message is at if num modulus 2 is equal to 0. That is the error message. It says not all arguments converted during string formatting. So that means it's about string. It's about that line of code. Let me go to that line of code. For num in array. So this string, the input is a string, right? Are converted to a list. Do you know that that list is a list of string, not list of integers? That is the problem. Because you are trying to divide a string by what? By 2. Is that understood? Because for saying for num in array, that you are trying to take each of the value in that string, isn't it? Is that understood? You are trying to take what? Each of the value in that string. So trying to take each of the value in that string, what does that mean? You are dividing a string by what? By 2, which is the problem. So there are several ways of solving the problem. One way is writing num is equal to integer num. That is one way of solving the problem. That is, before you divide by 2, convert to integer. Simple. Is that understood? Because you are trying to divide by 2, right? And that value is a what? Is a string. So another way you can do this is to write my list is equal to integer value for value in my list. That means you are saying that the value of my list is equal to integer value. So you are converting value to integer. But what is value? Value is for each value in that list. So for loop starts from what? It takes the first value in what? In that list, isn't it? It takes the first value in that list, converts to integer, put it in the list. It goes back, take the next value, convert to integer, put it in the list. So you can use this method or the other method I wrote here. Anyone you do, just make sure you solve it correctly. Is that understood? Good. So now let's run this code now. So this is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The sum of even numbers in the list is what? Is 30. Is this understood, everyone? Yes. Now, your next question is this.